Hey Bookworms, we are going to do our little extra weekly mini museums, wrong thing, our mini museums. So I wanted to go over just one more time what I've done. I've got the illustrations on the back for our books for each one, and then we've got our mini museum sculptures here. I put glue between my hexagons. And so that way these don't slide apart. So that's up to you whether you do that. Just be careful because I've like knocked mine out and broke some of these and stuff and had to fix them. So I put glue. You can see my little glue. And then we've got, I haven't finished putting mine on, but we've got the information about the illustrator on the back there to, you know, give props to our artists that have to do with these classic books. So we've already done this one. This is the first of our mini museums. We've got our Last of the Mohican here. This is the one we're currently doing, and I showed you guys how to paint this. And then if you see, I actually glued it to the front of this. I thought that sort of looked cool. So I just glued the little dots there. And then we've got our original, our old school, first ever subscription box here. We've got the 20,000 Leagues, and I got a little bit of glue on his little tentacle there and there so that he looks like he's crawling down this hexagon here. And then we've got Marley, Jacob Marley there with our illustration. And then this one was the one that was sort of like the surprise, and I've got my skull already pre-done. So let me pull over the ones that I have not showed you guys how to prep. And so pause the video after you watch this part, but this mini little museum piece, so all these have all come to you pre-primed, by the way, but I just put a coat of white paint on there, pretty thin. You can actually still see some of the gray through, which I sort of like because it looks sort of aged. And then a thin coat of blue on my Jacob Marley there, and then a thin coat of the gray, I'm sorry, green, oh my gosh, and the gray is coming through on my octopus. So I have, this is all done in acrylic. I've got my little palette here. Hopefully this stuff is not, I actually poured this yesterday, not all dried up on me. But I'm going to show you how I sort of just finish these up a little bit. So we'll start with our skull here for the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And I'm going to grab just my little flat brush here and get my brush wet, maybe. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of my brown. The paint's a little dry, but not too bad. Let me pull this over so you guys can see, actually. And I am going to antique this guy, which just means I'm going to get all this brown into like the crevices of my skull. And it's pretty watered down because I want this to be like, to give the shadow, right? So I'm going to just do the front here. And this is just a quick version of how I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe off. I'm going to dampen it just a little bit. Wipe off. And then, like I said, my white, I pre-prepped those. My white is already dry. So you can see how that starts to create like an aged look, and it gives the detail to that. So we're just sort of like antiquing. I'm antiquing our skull here. And then I'm just going to go around the back, and that probably won't show a whole lot because of how I'm going to put it in there, but I'm going to go ahead and get it on there so it looks nice and aged. And then my wet paper towel again. I just dab some of that off. You can see it looks old and aged now. All right, so then one other thing I want to do is I want to put darker on the inside of the eye sockets. So I'm going to darken that up. Same thing with the nose there. And then I'm going to wipe that away. And then I want to darken the teeth area a little bit too. There we go. So there is our skull. He's nice and aged. I'm going to put a little bit more brown up in here. And a little bit more dingy looking. There we go. I'm gonna blot it instead of rub it this time. All right, so there is our skull, and he is gonna go right in there like that with our, the rest of that, and completes my mini museum from there. Okay, so let me show you how I did my Jacob Marley. So he's all prepped blue, just a nice intense blue there, and then let me pop this up so I can look at him while I tell you guys. We're going to darken up just sort of like we did with the skull, but I'm doing it with black, so it's watered down black. I'm gonna hit all the areas that are dark, like that are recessed, like the deeper areas, to create like a shadow. So we've got around his area around his face with the tie, and then the eye sockets there, and then around the nose, and then up here by the hair. And then again, I'm going to take a damp paper towel. Got too much water on there. Okay. And then I want to lift up some of that. I want to leave it in the recessed parts of this face, so it creates like a natural shadow. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm gonna rinse my brush out really good. Let me get another dry paper towel. I'm gonna rinse my brush out really good, and I'm gonna grab white this time. And I want to, so he has glasses on his head here. Oops, hold on. It's getting too wet. Let me pull up some of that. Let me dry off my towel a little bit, or my paintbrush a little bit. Okay, so I want to control this a little bit more because this isn't, I'm not trying to do a wash here. So these are his glasses on the top of his forehead. So we just want to paint those. This guy's a little more detailed than some of our others. Still not super hard. Okay, so there's that. And then I want to paint the white tie that goes around his jaw. Okay. Flip that around, and I'll move aside. Okay. And then this part down here needs to be painted white too. I'm going to wait for a second to do that, because that's where I'm holding him. Here, actually, let me move my fingers. I can hold him like this. And then we want this part down here, because this is the tie there. Okay, so there's that. All right, so look how cool he's looking already. Okay, so now I'm gonna wipe some of this paint off of my brush that's more dry, because we're gonna dry brush the high points of his face. So I'm gonna hit the tops of his cheekbones there, the tops of his nose, the top of his lip there, his brow, and then his hair. Try to keep that in the, so you guys can see it in the video. Sorry. All right, now I'm going to grab my paper towel again. I'm gonna just sort of dab. I'm not gonna wipe, just those areas that I was trying to highlight though, because I don't want to, I like the bright white of the glasses and the tie there. I'm gonna hit his nose a little bit more, his cheekbones a little more. So this point is where you just sort of decide how much you want to do. And then dab again. Okay. And dab his chin. I forgot to highlight that part. And then I'm going to do the down parts of his cheeks there. Dab it again to blend it. All right, so there we've got like his highlight and everything that we're just trying to get the dark parts really dark and then the lighter parts slightly lightened just to give him more dimension. I think that's pretty good. And then I want to darken right underneath his lips there. So I'm cleaning my brush off, not too much water, and I want it to deepen up just right in here. There we go. And I'm going to darken his eyes a little bit more too. All right, I'm going to pull him up so we can see him a little better because there's a lot more. Hopefully it'll focus for me. So you can see the detail. So I've got his mouth real thin, his eyes real dark. So don't he look spooky? All right, so there is our Jacob Marley. And then the octopus. Let me grab him, and he's the last piece that we haven't done yet of our mini museum. I sort of didn't do these in any order. Sorry, I meant to do these in like an order, but here is our octopus. So this is our original one. There's only a handful of you that got, or this guy here. And we're gonna do, we got like the teal dark green on there. And I'm gonna do the rust color. And I'm just gonna sort of do a wash of this just to give him a couple different colors. And this you could do whatever you want. Red, pink, purple. He'd be cool, like purple and green. And really I'm just trying to make him look sort of spotty. So he's probably the easiest guy we got. Not any certain way you need to paint him. So whatever you feel like for your octopus. Alright. And that's all there is to him. So he's super easy. Just a couple colors. You could put more than that on him, but this is all I did was just the two. The green, the green and then the rusty color. Just very sort of spotty. And then that is it. That's all we got. So let me pull this back through. You guys can see the mini museum put together completely for what I've got so far. All right, there it is. And of course they've got the keyholes in the back so you can hang this. I'm just going to keep gluing as we go and make it some crazy shape that looks sort of like steampunkish with each thing that represents the subscriptions that we've had and the books that we've read. I think this is so fun. I feel like you could do some nice magnets on the back of these too, and hang it like on a fridge, or even make them individual magnets. So that would be something neat you guys could do if you didn't want to put them together and make them more like a magnet like museum on your fridge. Just make sure you get like somewhat heavy duty magnets. This would also be super cool like sitting on your bookshelf. So I would love to see some pictures of how you guys display your mini museum. And I look forward to seeing all your awesome pieces of artwork. I hope you guys are excited about this. And then I have this awesome, really fun idea that I'm getting ready to come out with for our next subscription that's sort of like a collectible / something you can use thing. So I'm hoping that you guys will really love it as well. And I look forward to sending y'all our newest subscription here soon. All right, guys. See you soon. Bye.